The 5 Love Languages, The Secret to Love That Lasts, by Gary Chapman. Imagine you're on a flight, 30,000 feet in the air, somewhere between one city and the next. The hum of the engines is a steady drone, and you're just about to drift off to sleep. Suddenly, the man next to you turns and asks a question. A question so simple, yet so heavy, it could change the course of a life. He asks, "What happens to the love after you get married?" He wasn't asking for a textbook answer. He was asking from a place of genuine pain. He tells you he's been married 3 times. Each time, it started with that incredible, magical feeling. That feeling we all chase, the one that movies are made about. But each time, after the wedding, it all just fell apart. The love he thought he had, the love she seemed to have for him, it just evaporated. He says, "I'm a fairly intelligent person. I run a successful business, but I don't understand it." This man's question isn't just his own. It's a question that echoes in the quiet moments of millions of relationships. Why does that spark, that incredible feeling of being in love, seem to have an expiration date? For over 30 years, a counselor and author named Gary Chapman sat with couples just like this. He listened to their stories of confusion and heartbreak. And in the middle of all that pain, he discovered something extraordinary. A hidden pattern. A secret, you could say, to love that lasts. He realized that we have been fundamentally misunderstanding what love is and how it works. His discovery led to a small, unassuming book that would go on to sell over 5 million copies in English alone and be translated into dozens of languages around the world. A book that has quietly revolutionized marriages, repaired families, and given people a new language for connection. And today, we're going to learn that language. By the end of our time together, you will understand a secret that can transform every relationship you'll ever have, with your future partner, your family, your friends. You'll learn that love isn't something that just happens to you. It's a skill you can learn, a language you can speak. And once you learn it, you'll never see the people in your life the same way again. Let's start with a simple but powerful idea. Inside every single one of us is something drive. Chapman calls an emotional love tank. Think of it like the gas tank in a car. When the tank is full, the car runs beautifully. It can go anywhere, climb any mountain. When our emotional love tank is full, we operate at our best. We feel secure, significant, and connected. Life looks bright. But what happens when the tank is empty? The car sputters, stalls, and eventually stops. When our love tank is empty, we feel insecure, unimportant, and alone. We might become critical, withdrawn, or resentful. Drive. Chapman observed that much of the misbehavior we see, in both children and adults, is really just a misguided search for love, a cry from an empty tank. He tells the heartbreaking story of a 13-year-old girl named Ashley. Her parents were crushed to find out she was being treated for a sexually transmitted disease. They were angry, confused. Why would she do this? They asked. When Chapman spoke to Ashley, her story poured out. Her parents had divorced when she was 6, and she convinced herself, as many children do, that her father left because he didn't love her. When her mother remarried, Ashley felt even more alone. She said, "I still had no one to love me. I wanted so much to be loved. So when an older boy at school showed her kindness, she clung to it. She didn't want sex," she explained, "she just wanted to be loved." Her love tank had been empty for years. This deep, fundamental need to feel loved doesn't go away when we grow up. It follows us right into adulthood and into our most important relationships. So, if we all have this love tank, and we all need it to be full, Why is it so hard to keep it filled for the people we care about most? Here's the central problem: drive. Chapman uncovered. We are all speaking different languages. Imagine you speak only English, and the person you love most in the world speaks only Chinese. You could stand there all day, telling them how much you love them, how wonderful they are, how much they mean to you. You could be completely sincere, pouring your heart out in the most beautiful English prose. But what would they hear? Nothing. Just noise. They wouldn't understand a single word. Your love, no matter how genuine, would be completely lost in translation. This is what happens in our relationships. We express love in the way we want to receive love. We speak our primary love language, and then we become confused and frustrated when our partner doesn't understand or appreciate it. We're expressing love, but the message isn't getting through. The man on the airplane was doing this. He told Drive Chapman that with his third wife, he was constantly telling her how beautiful she was, how much he loved her, how proud he was to be her husband. He was speaking love, and he was sincere. But she didn't understand his language. Perhaps she was looking for love in his actions, not his words, and felt nothing. Sincerity is not enough. We have to learn to speak the primary love language of the person we love. After years of counseling, Drive Chapman concluded that there are 5 core emotional love languages. 5 primary ways that people give and receive love. And once you understand these 5, you hold the key to filling anyone's love tank. So, let's explore the first of these languages. It's the one the man on the plane was trying to speak. The first love language is words of affirmation. Mark Twain once said, "I can live for 2 months on a good compliment." For a person whose primary language is words of affirmation, this is deeply true. For them, words are not just words, they are the very currency of love. Verbal compliments, words of appreciation, encouragement, and kindness are what make their heart feel full. Drive Chapman tells a simple, almost funny story about a woman who came to his office with a problem. She said, "I can't get my husband to paint our bedroom. I've been after him for 9 months." She explained how she'd tried everything. Just last Saturday, a perfect day for painting, she found him working on his computer instead. She went in and said, "Dan, I don't understand you. Today would have been a perfect day to paint the bedroom, and here you are working on your computer." Did he paint the bedroom? Of course not. Drive Chapman gave her 2 suggestions. First, he said, don't mention painting the bedroom ever again. He already knows you want it painted. Second, the next time your husband does anything good, give him a verbal compliment. If he takes out the garbage, say, "Dan, I really appreciate you taking the garbage out." If he pays the electric bill, put a hand on his shoulder and say, "Dan, thank you for paying the bill. I really appreciate that." The woman was skeptical. "I don't see how that's going to get the bedroom painted," she said. 3 weeks later, she came back to his office beaming. "It worked," she said. She had discovered that verbal compliments are far greater motivators than nagging words. Now, this isn't about manipulation. The goal of love is not to get what you want, but to do something for the well-being of the one you love. But it's a simple fact of human nature: when we feel appreciated, we are far more motivated to reciprocate. This language has a few different dialects. There are words of encouragement. We all have areas of insecurity where we lack courage. Your encouraging words can be the catalyst that unlocks someone's hidden potential. There's the story of Allison, who loved to write but gave up after one rejection slip. Years later, her husband Keith read one of her articles and said, with genuine enthusiasm, "Allison, you are an excellent writer. This stuff ought to be published. You have a fascinating style." Those words gave her the courage to try again. Today, she's a published author with a book contract. Another dialect is kind words. Love is kind. The same sentence, I love you, can mean two completely different things depending on the tone of voice. Our tone often carries more weight than our words. And finally, there are humble words, making requests, not demands. A demand suffocates the possibility of love. A request, on the other hand, gives direction to love and affirms the other person's value. It says, you have something that is meaningful to me, but I respect your choice to give it. For someone whose language is words of affirmation, your words are their world. A negative or insulting comment can cut them deeper than anyone else, but a simple, heartfelt compliment can fill their love tank for days. But what if words, no matter how kind, don't seem to be enough? What if your partner says, you say you love me, but I don't feel it? This was exactly the problem for a couple named Bill and Betty Jo from Little Rock. Drive. Chapman had advised them to start giving each other words of affirmation. For Bill, it worked wonders. He was a hard worker, and when Betty Jo started verbally appreciating his efforts, he said, she has actually made me feel like a man again. His love tank started to fill up. But when Drive. Chapman checked in with Betty Jo, she said things had only improved a little. She heard his compliments, but something was still missing. She said, he's still not spending any time with me. What's the use of having all these things if you don't ever get to enjoy them together? And right there, she revealed her primary love language. It wasn't what Bill was saying, it was what he wasn't doing. This brings us to the second love language, quality time. For a person who speaks this language, nothing says I love you more than giving them your undivided attention. This isn't about sitting in the same room while you both scroll through your phones. It's not watching a movie together, where your attention is on the screen. It's putting the phone down, turning the TV off, looking at each other, and truly connecting. When you give someone 20 minutes of your undivided attention, you are giving them 20 minutes of your life. You can never get that time back. It is a powerful, powerful expression of love. Betty Jo's love tank was empty because, in her mind, Bill's job was taking all of his time and attention. She didn't really hate his job, she hated feeling like she wasn't a priority. Drive. Chapman realized his mistake and called Bill back. He explained that Bill needed to start speaking Betty Jo's language. Together, they made a list of things Betty Jo had asked for over the years: spend weekends in the mountains, meet her for lunch, take a walk and just talk. The solution was simple, but not easy. Bill had to make time. He did. And years later, they were happier than ever. Bill had learned that getting to the top of his career meant nothing if he arrived there alone. Like words of affirmation, quality time has its own dialects. One is quality conversation. This is about sympathetic dialogue, where you're focused on hearing and understanding, not just waiting for your turn to speak. Drive. Chapman tells a story about a man named Patrick, who came to him after his wife had left. Patrick was heartbroken, calling himself a fool. He explained, my wife would come home from work and tell me about the problems in her office. I would listen and then tell her what I thought she should do. I always gave her advice, but she never took it. The next day, she'd come home with the same problems. After a while, he'd get angry and say, I don't want to hear about it if you're not going to listen to my advice. Now, with his wife gone, he finally understood. He said, she didn't want advice, she just wanted to know that I understood. She wanted sympathy. She wanted me to listen, to give her attention, but I was too busy giving advice. So many of us are like Patrick. We're trained to be problem solvers. But a relationship isn't a project to be completed, it's a connection to be nurtured. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is just listen. Another dialect of this language is quality activities. This is about doing things together where the point isn't the activity itself, but the fact that you're doing it together. It's creating a bank of shared memories you can draw on for years to come. Whether it's planting a garden, browsing a bookstore, or even just taking a walk, the activity is just the vehicle. The real destination is togetherness. So, we have words and we have time. But some people need something more tangible. Something they can hold in their hand. This leads us to the third love language, receiving gifts. Now, it's easy to dismiss this one as materialistic, but that's a complete misunderstanding of what it means. For a person whose language is receiving gifts, the gift itself is a visual symbol of love. It's not about the price tag, it's about the thought behind it. A gift says, "I was thinking of you." It's proof that you were in their mind even when you weren't together. Drive. Chapman, who studied anthropology, notes that gift-giving is a part of the love and marriage process in every culture across the globe. It seems to be a fundamental human expression of connection. The cost of the gift is usually irrelevant. A flower picked from the yard can mean more than an expensive jewel if it's given with love. The person who finds a beautiful feather on a walk and brings it home to their partner has found a powerful expression of love. The key is the thought, expressed in the action of getting the gift and giving it. The most powerful story of this language comes from a couple in Chicago, Doug and Kate. Kate was at the end of her rope. After years of marriage, she felt completely unloved by Doug. He was a good man, but methodical, predictable, and emotionally distant. She felt used and unappreciated. She told Drive Chapman, "I was thinking seriously of leaving him." Then, they attended one of Drive Chapman's seminars. The following Monday, Doug came home from work and gave her a single rose. Kate was stunned. She asked where he got it. "I bought it from a street vendor," he said. "I thought you deserved a rose." She started to cry. On Tuesday, he brought home a pizza so she wouldn't have to cook. On Wednesday, he brought home a small potted plant, saying he wanted to give her something that would last longer than the rose. On Thursday, he gave her a card and asked her out for dinner on Saturday. By the time Saturday night came, Kate said, "I was in orbit." This man had never given her a flower, never given her a card, never brought home dinner in all their years of marriage. It was a radical change. At dinner, she finally asked him what was going on. Doug explained that he had listened at the seminar and realized, for the first time, that her love language was receiving gifts. He had been blind to it for years. So he decided to try an experiment. He would give her a gift every day for 1 week and see what happened. It didn't just make a difference, it performed a miracle. Kate said, "He is like a new man. You wouldn't believe how happy we have been. My tank is full and overflowing." Doug had learned to speak her language, and it saved their marriage. A powerful dialect of this language is the gift of self, the gift of your physical presence, especially in a time of crisis. Drive. Chapman tells the story of Jan, who felt her husband Don loved softball more than he loved her. Why? Because on the day their baby was born, 10 minutes after the birth, he left to go play a softball game. And on the day her mother died, he went to the funeral, but left immediately after to play softball again. Don was a good man. He was there for the birth. He had helped her family for a week before her mother passed away. In his mind, he had done his duty and needed a break. But he failed to understand that for Jan, in those critical moments, his presence was the most powerful gift he could give. Her love tank didn't just need a gift, it needed him. Doug, the man from Chicago, had learned his wife's language. But what was his language? What made him feel loved? He told Drive. Chapman, "Oh, I've always felt loved by her. She is the best housekeeper in the world. She is an excellent cook. She is wonderful about doing things for the children." In that moment, he revealed the fourth love language: acts of service. For some people, actions truly do speak louder than words. This language is about doing things you know your spouse would like you to do. It's cooking a meal, washing the dishes, taking out the garbage, mowing the lawn. These are all acts of service. They require thought, time, and effort. When they are done with a positive spirit, they are powerful expressions of love. Drive. Chapman discovered this language in a small town in North Carolina, when a young couple, Mark and Mary, approached him after church. They'd been married 2 years and felt like they disagreed on everything. Mark complained that Mary didn't keep the house clean or have supper ready when he got home from his hard job at the mill. Mary complained that Mark never helped with anything around the house and just wanted to go hunting or fishing. But before they were married, things were different. Mary remembered, "It was the way he helped me with everything. He was so eager to help me. He would help her with her chores, with her school projects, even wash dishes at her parents' house. That's what made her fall in love with him." And why did Mark do those things? He said, "It's what I would want someone to do for me if she cared about me." They both had the exact same primary love language: acts of service. So why were they miserable? Because they were speaking different dialects of that language. He was showing love in the ways he wanted to receive it, and she was doing the same. His idea of a loving spouse was someone who took care of the house, like his mother did. Her idea of a loving spouse was someone who helped her with things, like he did when they were dating. Once they made specific lists of the acts that would make them feel loved, he wanted the bed made and dinner started, she wanted him to vacuum once a week and change the baby's diaper, their marriage began to turn around. They learned that love isn't just about serving, it's about serving in the specific ways that are most meaningful to your partner. It's important to remember that this is about love, not about being a doormat. Love is a choice, and it must be freely given. We can make requests of each other, but demands stop the flow of love. Criticism is often just a person's ineffective way of pleading for love. When your spouse criticizes you, they are often revealing their deepest emotional need. We've covered words, time, gifts, and service. There's one language left. It is perhaps the most primal and direct way we communicate connection. The fifth love language is physical touch. From the moment we are born, we learn about love through touch. Babies who are held, hugged, and kissed develop a healthier emotional life than those who are deprived of physical contact. That need doesn't disappear when we become adults. For a person whose primary language is physical touch, physical contact is their emotional lifeline. Holding hands, kissing, embracing, a hand on the back, a touch on the arm, these are the expressions that fill their love tank and make them feel secure. Without it, they can feel deeply unloved, even if their partner is speaking all 4 of the other languages perfectly. A slap in the face is damaging to any person, but it is utterly devastating to someone whose primary language is touch. In the same way, a tender hug communicates love to anyone, but it shouts love to this person. This language is not just about the bedroom. It's about the small, implicit touches throughout the day, putting a hand on their shoulder as you walk by, sitting close together on the couch, holding hands in a parking lot. These small moments can keep their love tank full. The story of Pete and Patsy is a powerful illustration. They had been married for years, but Patsy felt Pete was distant and withdrawn. He spent all his time with his job and his computer. She begged him to spend more time with her. Her language was quality time. But Pete's story was different. He revealed in counseling that his primary language was physical touch. When they were dating, She was always responsive to his hugs and kisses. But after they got married, that changed. He felt rejected, so he decided to stop initiating touch, just to see how long it would take for her to reach out to him. He said, "Once I waited for 6 weeks before she touched me at all. I found it unbearable." His withdrawal wasn't about the computer or his job. It was his way of protecting himself from the pain of feeling rejected and unloved. He was starving for her touch. Patsy was floored. "I would go weeks without touching him," she said. "It didn't cross my mind. It wasn't important to her, so she didn't realize it was essential to him." Once they understood each other's languages, everything changed. Once Patsy started initiating physical touch, Pete's entire personality shifted. And once he felt loved and secure, he was able to start giving her the quality time she had been craving for years. These, then, are the 5 languages: words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. So, how do you discover your own primary love language? Drive. Chapman suggests 3 questions to ask yourself. First, what does your partner do or fail to do that hurts you most deeply? The opposite of what hurts you is likely your love language. If their critical words crush you, your language is probably words of affirmation. If their absence feels like abandonment, it's likely quality time. Second, what have you most often requested of your partner? Those things you're always asking for, what your partner might call nagging, are often direct clues to your primary language. And third, how do you naturally express love to others? We often tend to give love in the way we'd like to receive it. Once you know your language, and your partner's, you have the map. But knowing the map isn't the same as taking the journey. This is where the most important lesson of all comes in. You might be thinking, "This is great, but my partner's love language is acts of service, and I'm just not that kind of person." Or, "My spouse needs physical touch, but I didn't grow up in a touching family. It doesn't come naturally to me." This is the question drive Chapman gets most often. And his answer is simple. So? He shares his own story. His wife's primary love language is acts of service. One of the main things he does for her, as an act of love, is vacuum the house. He hates vacuuming. His mother made him do it all through his childhood, and he swore that when he grew up, he would never vacuum again. And yet, he vacuums their house regularly. Why? Love, he says. And here is the crucial insight: when an action doesn't come naturally to you, it is a greater expression of love. His wife knows when he vacuums, it's not because he enjoys it. It's 100% pure, unadulterated love, and he gets full credit for it. This brings us to the profound, life-altering core of the entire book. That initial, euphoric in-love feeling is not true love. It's an instinct, an obsession that feels wonderful but has an average lifespan of about 2 years. It's the emotional equivalent of a rocket launch: exciting, powerful, but it's not meant to last forever. It's just supposed to get you into orbit. True, lasting love is not a feeling. It is a choice. It's the choice to get up in the morning and say, "How can I fill my partner's love tank today?" It's the choice to learn a language that is foreign to you, to stretch beyond your comfort zone, to do something that doesn't come naturally, all for the benefit of the person you care about. Your feelings don't lead you to the action. The action leads you to the feelings. Can you love someone you feel like you hate? This was the question a woman named Anne asked Drive Chapman. Her husband was critical, condemning, and unloving. Her love tank was beyond empty. Yet, she didn't want to give up. Drive Chapman proposed a 6-month experiment. She would try, as an act of will, to love her husband in his primary love language, which they guessed was physical touch and words of affirmation. She would stop all complaints and start initiating sex and giving him compliments, even though she felt nothing. It was incredibly difficult. She felt like a hypocrite. But she chose to do it, not as an expression of a feeling she didn't have, but as an act of love for his benefit. The first month, her husband was dismissive. But she persisted. The second month, he started giving her positive feedback. In the following months, he began responding to her requests. Her love for him, which she thought was dead forever, began to return. Her experiment worked. Love didn't erase the past, but it made the future different. When we look back at the journey we've taken today, from the man on the airplane to the miracle in Chicago, the central message is one of incredible hope. It tells us that love is not some mystical force beyond our control. It's not something we have to cross our fingers and hope for. It's a practical, learnable skill. The metaphor of the love tank is so powerful because it reframes our entire approach to relationships. It shifts the focus away from what am I getting, and toward what am I giving. It moves us from a mindset of conflict, where we're trying to prove who's right and who's wrong, to a mindset of service, where the goal is simply to make the other person feel seen, valued, and loved in the way that is most meaningful to them. The most empowering idea in this entire book is the realization that love is a choice. That initial in-love feeling is wonderful, but it's just the introduction. The real story begins when we come down from that emotional high and have to decide, day after day, to love the real, imperfect person in front of us. This is where real love is forged. So, how can you start applying this today? Here are 3 simple actions. First, try the tank check. Just once this week, with someone you care about, a parent, a sibling, a friend, or a partner, playfully ask them, on a scale of 0 to 10, how's your love tank today? And then follow it with the most important question, what could I do to help fill it? Listen to their answer without judgment, and then, do it. Second, become an observer of love. Pay close attention to the people in your life. What do they complain about most often? What do they request from you? How do they show affection to others? You will start to see the 5 languages everywhere, and you'll begin to decode the emotional needs of the people around you. And third, perform one unnatural act of love. Identify the primary love language of someone important to you. Then, choose one small action that speaks that language but feels a bit unnatural or uncomfortable for you. If their language is words of affirmation and you're not a big talker, write them a short note. If it's acts of service and you're always busy, take 5 minutes to do a chore for them without being asked. It's in that moment of choosing to act against our own natural tendencies that love becomes its most powerful. The greatest relationships aren't the result of luck or finding a perfect person. They are built, one intentional act at a time, by people who have chosen to learn the skill of loving well. And the most important part of that skill is learning to speak the language of the person you love. It's a choice you can make today, and it's a choice that can change everything. That was a summary of the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman. We certainly touched on the core ideas today, but a summary is like looking at a map of a beautiful country. The map can show you where to go, but it can never replace the experience of actually walking the paths, breathing the air, and feeling the sun on your face. The real magic of this book is in the way its simple truths settle into your heart as you read them for yourself. This summary is your map. If anything we've talked about has sparked something in you, I encourage you to take the journey. Grab a copy of the book, because the experience of reading it can genuinely change the way you connect with everyone in your life. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please take a moment to click that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.